All right, good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 82 for January 27, 2023. And today our main topic is going to be Jen Sharp, who spoke at Low Code Café this last Wednesday, is joining us for questions and maybe a little bit more show and tell. Before we get to that, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Dale Warner, with Head of Support with Plantinap. This is an event we do every Friday, or most Fridays, this same hour, and it's just an opportunity to get together, talk about low code in general, Plantinap in specific, and oftentimes we see questions answered along the way here. It's great when somebody has something directly to demonstrate, and Jen's efforts with a year-long or years-long effort to convert a system is going to be quite an interest, I think. But it's all skill levels welcome, so do feel free to jump in and engage with us. We record all these episodes, and they're out on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Plantinap, so make sure you subscribe and click the alert bell to know when we post new things out there. We run a pretty simple agenda. We say hello to one another because it is a meeting format, and then we'll do first call, see if there's anything that's burning that you want to get into, and then today we'll talk to Jen, but also then we'll move on to other topics. But after an hour or so, we'll turn off the microphone, go to our microphone, and go to our Afterglow segment, our unrecorded time when we can just chat a little bit. But do engage with us, jump in. You can show and tell, you can do the chat window. We have very few guidelines. We ask you to be nice, and if you've got noise going on behind you, to mute. You can submit questions and topics in advance. You can use that QR code or URLs that are in the emails that we send to you. And with that, good morning. I'm getting better at that, only 2 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dale, Patrick, Jen, everyone.
Well, great. So we'll move right on into first call. Is there anything that you want to push to the front of the line today? Good. Then let's move right on and welcome our guest, Jen. Great job on Wednesday. I thought that was a great segment, and I just appreciate you putting in the effort to come and do that. And this.
Sure. Thank you. It was fun. It's always fun talking about, what you've accomplished. So,
Yeah, I just want to second that, Jen. Thanks for showing us what you did with Plantinap and your association and your website. It was very impressive. It's obviously a lot of work, and it looks like it's working well, so that's good. And
yes, the dust to settle. There were times. There were times, I'm not so
in
sure.
all projects, I'm sure. Mm-hmm.
We had a pretty tight deadline at the end of the year, and just kept kind of pushing that off until we had to go ahead and just open. Ready or not, here we come. So. So I don't know if anybody had something they in particular wanted to see. Otherwise, there was a Dropzone Locator that Patrick suggested that we show a little bit about that, because it's very visual and encompasses a few things.
Absolutely, we'd love to see the continuation.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, so it says I can't share. Okay, there we go. So this is the front end, the way that members can see it, and it's open to the public, and it's actually our highest hit page in the whole website, which is, hey, I want to find a skydiving place near me. So you can imagine, it's very the drop zones. It incorporates all the ones who are current members of our association, and you can see international. We have international members as well. So this is a Google API here, and it has pins on the map. I have this little thing. Hey, is this page helpful? Just kind of see if you get feedback on this. And it has lists of drop zones. So if I wanted to see one let's say almost every one of them have skydive in the name of them, so that's a generic one. But there's Skydive Kansas City right here, and when we click here, you can see more about the member and what they offer, the programs that they offer and everything. If you go back to the search, let's see if we have like if we have a okay, it's going to be slow on me.
Well, at some point, we all have to experience the demo bug, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Things don't go right exactly when you when you're starting to
it
show
always
them.
does. It works great, you know, when we're practicing.
So while you're doing that, let me ask a personal question, and
Yeah.
then you know, and I'm asking it for a reason, so I can embarrass myself. But
Oh.
do you know how many drops, how many jumps you've done, Jen?
About 6,000, a little over 6,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And 2,500 of them, I had somebody strapped to me taking them on their first jump on tandem. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
That's
asked
fine.
because I've done one. So
Yeah.
I'm
Cool.
close. Is there anybody closer to the number Jen has done that's on the call? Anybody?
No,
I might convince Patrick sometime. Maybe if you might go
possible.
with him.
It is.
Okay.
This was actually, when I did this, it was a first date with my wife, my now wife.
That's cool.
So we both count our plane trips in halves, and
Yeah.
it was a static line thing. So
Oh yeah, that's neat.
it was
That's how
it's a great memory that we didn't repeat.
You took the leap together,
Yeah.
as they say.
Nice.
So I'll show you a little bit of the backside. The map looks like this. So it's HTML, and it's just basically the Google API generic calls, and it has, you know, a listener on there and everything, so that when the top changes, we can, which is what I wanted to show you here. Okay, it's loaded now, of course. So if we filter it, for example, let's say I filter, oh, it's not there. That is weird. Okay, Patrick, you need to help me. I saw that earlier. We've
very
had
odd.
problems with the Google API not recognizing uppercase, lowercase, all these problems with the API, just with the format of the URL. And so we made some changes recently, and I think maybe I didn't flesh out exactly what they are. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
That actually used to work better.
So just so I understand the direction, the idea is that you're filtering changes and then it would adjust the map.
Yeah, see, it doesn't like it because it's capitalized now. So we've had some problems with that. Still trying to work through it. But if you did filter by region, let's say central region, and then search, or by a state even, then it will break. I need to have this case for it to actually work right. Let's do one that's let's do this one, because that one obviously worked before. So on the page, it's pretty object fields, and it puts it into the URL. So all it does is just put it, you know, it's a little refresh, JavaScript refresh, that puts the URLs, you know, the whatever they type in into the URL, and then we have a listing that listens to the URL. So the data source here has parameter.
I'm just going to ask the question, Jen. I'm having issues with the audio. Is that?
Yeah.
Patrick is
I am too.
agreeing.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think I'm having slower internet today. Sorry about that. I'm on satellite right now. I don't know what the deal is. It's probably me. Sorry. Is everybody okay? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my internet's cutting out. I'm so sorry. So basically though, there's a form that just puts JavaScript, pushes the information into the URL, and then the listing gets those and it's inside the query. And it just is very generic. You know, that's why the ampersand or the percent sign's here. So it tries to find something close to what the person types in. And then we have the account pop out, which is just using tokens and HTML with the exact results from the search. So you can see, nope, it didn't do it. Region equal, let's see, country, let's do Colorado. See how this works. It's lowercase now, so it should work. So these are filtered here to the 3, and you can see the map filters to the 3, which is pretty cool.
The map is a form, is that correct?
The map is HTML with JavaScript and tokens.
Okay.
And I wanted to toss in, because I know that it probably be the question that comes up, is that we did this before. We got the really cool solution from Jerry, thank you. and I've talked with Jen about the possibility of maybe converting it to that, but she's had so many other things, and this has been working very smoothly until we get on this call.
Yeah.
So we haven't approached that yet, but yeah, it's all in an HTML module right now.
But I think I have used Jerry's techniques, and it's very slick, but I don't think it has a listener in it. And so that was kind of interesting to me. So basically that's a feature of, if I understand what you've done, it's a feature of Google that says watch the
so the grid is obviously is syncing to the URL, and that's what's updating the grid at the bottom. When you click the search button, it's actually calling a function that updates the Google map. So so the search button calls a function that doesn't update to the Google map.
So nice to have. I love the idea of having the filtering work with both elements of the screen. So those pinpoints, do those have hover click kind of things?
That's the pop out.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can zoom in, of course, so you can see exactly where they are. And this is just the Google interface here. We just call it, it's just whatever they requested, we just put them into the JavaScript using tokens.
So your drop zones, your group members, those are part of your membership. So I assume you have.
Yeah, we have individual members. We have individual members, and we also have group members. And the group members are actual like entities. They're drop zones, or they're schools that want to be part of what we do because they get benefits, and individual members get different kind of benefits being a member.
So the data behind that, I assume that's the kind of thing that is just being managed. So they have a form where they can fill in and say, yes, I want to list a drop zone or something like that.
Yes, an application process. And actually the application process for a group member for a new one is quite involved, and it actually is so manual that we don't have it online, because it's very much it's very much okay, somebody goes out and inspects it and makes sure that the drop zone meets the requirements for the rules for that area and all that kind of stuff. So there's no way we could just take a form and be able to make
Yeah.
that happen. But we do have renewals, and this is actually what we opened it up for foreign, but I'm testing right now for international, or for US drop zones right now. And so, for example, we were just doing this yesterday. This was kind of like oh my gosh, last minute, this is opening in 7 days. Do you have this done yet? No. And this is what I love about this. Like, okay, I gotta do a form here. And so the drop zones have to enter the aircraft they have. These used to be my 2 airplanes when I owned a drop zone. So that's what you're seeing there. And so when they add an aircraft, they have to, specify. So you probably jumped out of a Cessna 182, right, Dale?
I don't recall. That's our first day was 40 years ago.
Yeah, so it's probably 182. And so you have different inspection types that are required, and the name of the person. You're an AI now, Patrick.
Okay.
And if you fill it out, you can see that it just keeps telling them the right, what is the right way to fill out this form. And that's what I really love about this. And I'll just say, I actually did this in a day and a half or so, and I had Patrick's help because I was like being stupid on a few things. And so, like, let me show you the form where this came from, because it's very ridiculously.
Yeah, that's a good picture. This is a
complicated.
great use case for digitizing something.
Yeah.
So yes, please share the image, Jen, because
Okay.
it's
Let me show you. It's so basically, it's loading really slow. I'm so sorry about this. Okay, this is the form, and it's them teaching staff how to fill out how to make sure that a form has been filled out properly. And there's so much to it. If it's this, then that. Okay, well, these, you have to pick one. Oh, and make sure the 2 fields are the same, either this or that. It's like so complicated. And you have to teach staff how to see if somebody filled this paper form out correctly. Well, who's teaching the people to fill it out correctly? That's like crazy. But that's what I love about this. In a day and a half, I was able to, because I do have the knowledge about this. I did have to fill out these forms, so I do understand the form. But after you understand what is required, it doesn't take, and I say a day and a half, I had other things going on as well. So, I mean, I'm talking about like from I don't have a form at all to I'm still answering emails, I'm doing other projects, and I'm creating this. So that's what I love about this this whole thing. So it'll change based on what I need, And
Sure. So you built the vetting logic into the process.
Yeah.
So required fields and whatever. So
right. And I can show you a little bit about what that looks like so that it doesn't seem so intimidating. I'm duplicating this for the backside, so I do have it where it can edit. So there's a little bit on here that's not really needed for just adding a form, because it does have an update form for the staff, which is also really cool because I'm using the same form for the backside as I am the front side, except they could just edit it.
Sure.
And
that kind of thing.
Yeah, but you can see there's not a whole lot of code going on here. There's just like validators. And so, for example, if it displays or not display, it's based on their previous selection. So this in particular, okay, let's say they choose one thing or another, or I don't want to show it until they have something in the field. So let's do like this one. And it can get really complicated, but it's like not with code, it's with bind expressions and other fields. Okay, well, if the inspection is 1, or they chose they want to use dates, and the inspector has something filled out and the inspector name has something filled out. It's like, this is the most difficult part about it, is my own head knowing the complication of what you need for the form. But I can just show or hide based on what their previous entries are. And I can even change labels. And we did that with with the on change click event. So during in the bindings, and this is what Patrick was helping me with, because I didn't want to make like a bazillion fields for one form. I want a very simple form for me to understand and for the staff to see. I don't want the staff to see a whole bunch of fields and all of them are blank except one or two. That doesn't make any sense. So that's how I decided to formulate it. And you can see that this is just a very, very simple JavaScript to be able to change the label based on their selection, and that's it. So it ends up being very clean, did it very quickly, and helps hold the hand of the user. They can't fill it out wrong. So I'm sure they'll find a way, because we haven't opened it up yet. You know, I always say that, but I feel like, you know, what is it? 75% of what you do is trying to get it where people don't fill out your stuff wrong. That's what I feel like lately.
So, so inspector text there, you're setting the field of setting the label of the field. So inspector text is the name of the field inspector?
It's just a static text field. So she just uses this. Yeah.
So basically I have like that one would be, which one was it? Did we say inspector text right here? So it's next to, so that acts like a label for this field.
Right.
And the same thing with the inspector date text. That's a static text field that acts like a label for these two date entries fields.
And, you know, an improvement could be that we could actually use the JavaScript to update the label of the field itself. So that's something that we could approach in the future, Jen. But
yeah.
I
like the look of it. It's pretty clean.
Yeah.
People can tell what it is. And,
yeah, it works.
It was very quick. It had to be put together very quick. And I've had 2 of our staff people test it already. And then we're going to have some, you know, people impersonate an actual group member, Dropzone owner, to fill out their application just to make sure that it works for a live person. And then we'll open it up and we'll see what happens.
Did you just hide the built-in labels then for those controls that actually control the data?
Yeah, so what we did was the settings were to have it on the inside. It's floating labels that are on the inside, not inside here, because that looked a little funny. So basically it's just a floating label. And then for the fields, I didn't want to have that. I just didn't give them a name right here, a title. I just unchecked the auto, and then I give an ID, but no title. And that way they look like just a blank field. I'll show you here, right there. There's nothing there. You can see there's some space because of the, there's supposed to be a title like here, but there's no title. So it just looks like a box. But yeah. That's
so this was a really fast and easy way to get to what you needed, and you know, I thought about this. You know, we could have done the top aligned fields, but then the alignment of the would be off. So this actually looks nicer because the alignment of the top of the field is where it's supposed to be. So yeah.
Yeah, we tried the look of that, and I was like, I don't like how that looks. So this actually looks a lot better, and you can see how much simpler it is compared to what they are supposed to fill out, and they don't even really know how to fill it out. So we get that wrong a lot. I mean, we get those back wrong a lot. And so I'm going to be really excited to see how well this one ends up being. The one that I programmed before online was very confusing to people because I had to, like, if I wanted to edit something, it would take them to another screen. And so the pop-up is amazing addition. I guess I could have tried to program it, but I was working with modules that I had not built, and I was just trying to, configure them to work smoothly, and I couldn't really do that very well. But this built in out of the box, I just love the pop-up forms because you don't lose the place where the person is. Another thing that could be really easy would be if I had an inline edit, to add an inline edit, all one list, because if ever they have a list, people sometimes just like to type it in as if it was like a spreadsheet or something. So, but this had a little too much complication for it. I really wanted a form that would not present them with everything in one. It would hold their hand as they filled it out. So what else
Nice. So, yeah, that's a good question. What else? I mean, I appreciate that you're going on to the demo, but if there's things that people saw or didn't see or wondered about on Wednesday, please jump in and ask the question. Yes, Mark, I see you have your hand up. You're so polite.
Yeah, Jen and Patrick, I'm curious what your goals were for the use of the program, meaning mobile use or desktop use. Which one is first, and how much do you test?
It absolutely depends on what part of the site. And thankfully, because we had already, we really converting a website that already existed, not the back office was completely brand new. The back office is obviously going to be for a desktop. In fact, it has its like challenges to only do desktop, because if I go there and I'm like, okay, all of our people have at least 2 screens, some of them 3, and they're super wide. So how I design it needs to be, very fill the screen up so that they don't have to go back and forth, open a new tab, all these things. And so the backside definitely has a completely different approach. But the front side, except for this application or anything that's like this one, they're going to be on a computer because they have to enter like paperwork stuff and everything. So they're very much likely to be on a computer. But other things, like if I wanted to check somebody to, it looks a little funny because I'm logged in here. I have to be logged in, but if I wanted to check to see if somebody was actually a member, I'll check my kitty. That actually would just work because it floats, and I'll show you what that looks like here, because that's going to be something that happens a little bit more often with in like out in the field. So they will find a member and then boom, it's right there. And it does have scrolling too, if people can't necessarily see it. And this shows them their actual membership card. And this one is another one that looks really good on mobile. So to answer your question, it really just depends. So like, see if that was a phone, and I can actually even, what do I want to do here? I want to make it landscape. Turn the phone sideways.
Oh, yeah.
So are you creating a different page when you know that it's going to be used on a computer, or are you trying to make it responsive so it fits either way? Or
most of the time I'm trying to just have one page, because the maintenance of something that's this huge, I don't want to try to maintain it like that. So I will just, I will think about who needs it and what does it look like and design it from that standpoint first. But obviously we use Bootstrap, the 12 grid idea. So you can see right here. And when I altered the skin, we purchased this skin and then I altered it quite a bit because I used to do a lot of skinning. And so I just took one that I really liked and then made a whole lot more possibilities for how we can display things. And that makes it really flexible. There's a few things, like for example, that card that you just saw, like that does not look good. Most people are going to see that on a phone, not on their browser, which looks like this, which is huge. It's like, So yeah, it depends on what am I doing and what would most people really want to see. And we do have like that data, by the way, like, we can go to our Google Analytics and kind of see how people use the site. And so we know, also, I am a jumper. I walk around and I can see what people need and how they use things. So.
thanks, Jen.
Yeah, basically I avoid it. I avoid doing 2 pages or 2 sites. I avoid it. I try to just use Bootstrap to help me do that.
I was interested in what you said a minute ago about, the multi-screen design. I often think about layouts from the standpoint of how is this going to look on the screen, but realizing that you have an office that has everybody has multiple monitors, and designing from that standpoint, that was an interesting thought for me too.
Yeah. So basically they don't want to scroll. They don't want to have to scroll. So the tabs module is amazing. They love that. And then pop outs, or I really like the sidebar. Let me see if I can get something up here for you to show. I think this one.
While
Again,
Jen's
my cat.
looking- While Jen's looking, don't be shy. Raise your hand or whatever if you have questions. We'd love to get into them while we have this hour today.
I'm going to close this so that you don't have to see it as a,
As a layout.
yeah, you can see exactly what it looks like for them. So it is actually probably more like, in their screens, probably more like this. This is a lot more what it looks like for them. So not a ton of scrolling. They see all of it here in one, and then they can click on tabs, and it's easier for them to just manage it horizontally than it is to try to manage it with a bunch of scrolling. He has a whole lot of fake ratings. Most people wouldn't have that many. So
I was going to ask, I mean, is this an area where you worked on performance kinds of things? I mean, an all-in-one form like this with lots of things on the page can be a challenge.
yeah, it can be a challenge. And so there's some things that aren't on there that aren't used regularly. And that's where I have like the buttons to go out further. Anything that has to do with ratings, it just shows the basics. And it does have the forms and everything else. But if they want to see related information, they do have to pop out. But here's the number of forms and listings I have on this page. And as long as it doesn't hit the files, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's working fine with this many. I don't think I want any more.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to grow. So we're stuck. We're done with this many. But that just kind of shows you just, I mean, I'm really impressed with the performance. You know, because we were used to a lot more load times, except for we are having problems with we just have so many documents right now. We're trying to sort through all that. So anything that has a document attached to it, it's a slower load, but working through all that. Patrick's helping me a lot with all of that stuff. And I have a guy who also, Dan, who I've worked with for a long time, and he's really great at like files and SQL and our previous system and stuff. So, and he knows our system really well. And so thankfully I have some help with that part.
Mark's jumping in again. What do you got, Mark?
Hey, I'll keep at it if no one else is. So I noticed on Wednesday and another time today that you're taking credit cards on the app, and I'm wondering about that. Are you actually allowing people to enter credit card numbers right on your site, or are you throwing them out to authorize.net for that?
Authorize.net, but it doesn't hit our site. So we have a form that uses their API. So we don't store anything except for the fact that it's there and an authorization code. So we're fine. Yeah, because you're right. It's like, okay, great. How far can I go with this? But I just use the built-in authorize.net module.
And I think it's worth mentioning there that, Jen, that you have a third-party security analyst that you work with that reviewed the process that you're using and approved it.
Yeah, we outsource a lot of our, you know, because I am one person, so we outsource like our security and our infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. And they've been with us for a very long time, and so we just had them review how we had it set up, because obviously that's pretty critical, and who has access and all that stuff. So basically I have access like to the important stuff, like to the, you know, we have to have a token, right, for our API. And so, or we have to have an actual key that they give us. And so that's stored in a token that I have access to only. And then the way the forms are that built in with authorize.net, they have password fields. right there. So if somebody goes in there, if somebody did, I'm the only one, but if somebody did go in there, they would see a password, the asterisks, and not actually see the password. But we
So-
don't
so-
store any of that data. We only store the API connection data or
Okay.
an authorization that comes back from authorized.net.
Right. So a finer point though, are people entering a credit card number on one of your forms, or is it on an authorized.net form?
It's on one of our forms. And then it goes through the API directly to authorized.net. So there's no, so we're on a secure server, obviously, and there's no storing of anything. And it just transmits it directly to authorized.net without hitting anything other than just their
Sure.
API.
The way it should be. Do you also have to go through PCI compliance testing on a regular basis?
We do.
That's the part that I usually try to avoid because it's
Going through PCI
it's a lot of
compliance
hoops.
testing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we also have the physical thing at our office too, so we have to do all of it. It's not just this part. That's one piece of our PCI compliance. It's huge. Thankfully, I don't have to do that part. They just like hand me, okay, answer questions, 20 through 60. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
So is there a phase 2, Jen?
Oh yeah. There's like a phase 2 immediate. You better do this as quick as you can. And then there's requests. And then there's, oh my gosh, we forgot that we always have this every year. Can you do this right now and interrupt your phase 2 list? Yeah. There's a lot.
Just think, you went live beginning of the year. And so then
December 1.
Okay. So then I assume there's probably monthly and quarterly and annual activities. So over the course of this next year, you're going to be finding those kinds of things.
Yeah, I kind of know
filling
it
in
already
anything
because
you
I've
didn't
done it.
have.
Yeah, and I know it already. I knew already what I should be expecting. But I didn't realize the dates when they wanted them open. And, I was always thinking, oh, it's this date that we usually do that. And, just comfortable and forgetting that all I had to do before was just turn it on. And now I'm like, oh, I have to develop it and then test it and then turn it on. So that's it does get pretty hectic. But the thing about it is everybody wants more features.
Mhm.
They're like, hey, can you do this? Yeah. And can I do it later?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the cool thing is that people get excited about it because they see how much better it is. And just really even just the back office is just immense. That's like one of the best things because our interface before, we really didn't have control over what it looked like, what the tabs looked like, or buttons. Okay, can you put a button here? And that's a lot of the requests I'm getting because before we just had to take what we had. And now that they know that I'm able to configure it, we take all the clutter out and we only present what they need. And they want it to be convenient and fast. And yeah. So lots of requests for sure.
Harder when the answer isn't always just by default, no, we can't do that.
I know. Or when they know how fast I can do something too, that's the whole thing too, is it takes way less time to do these sort of things. So then hard hand coding or putting somebody else's code and trying to look through it and figure it out and stuff like that.
Jen, I think one of the challenges you did have was the amount of data you have in some of your entities, and for example, your contacts, you have close to 300,000 records in it, and
Yes.
And that became a problem in some places for loading a contact listing. Is there a place where you can share like one of the solutions that
Yeah.
you're using for that? Because that's kind of cool the way that's working.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The one that we just did was the credential check. This is the lookup. And you can see no members found. So automatically put it in where whatever the search is going to be is going to result in no records. So you have your filters to be like that. And then this is the form.
Oh, and we've had a bad streak again on your audio again, but
Oh,
You're back now.
okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
that's all right.
Okay, so this is automatically this is the listing that automatically doesn't show anything. And then the form will post to this listing through the URL, of course. So this is just the JavaScript that posts into the address bar, and then the results are from the grid, because the data source will say find blah blah, and whatever the search is going to have parameters that will end up being nothing if if you don't have anything entered yet.
Yeah, the
And so
default-
what we ended up doing was, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Put another way, the default parameters quickly arrive at a result of no records.
That's right.
So the performance is good there, and then you force it to have filtering before you actually start, so you never get into a condition where you're returning 1,000 records.
Right. And this is, for example, this is my rating course conduct, and I have a blank one here. So I'll show you how this is Patrick's idea, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is of do it with a pop-up. Okay, am I back now? Sorry.
Yeah, you're back. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. How to do it with a pop-up, because this is the flat way. This is just on the same field, which is pretty easy to do. But how do we do it if we have something more complicated? And so this was Patrick's idea of how to do it in a pop-up. So if I want to add somebody here, we just put that same form in a pop-up. You can see how that looks very similar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to actually put this back to 100% here, so you can see that better. So that's actually the same form, and it's a copy of the form. And when I can find it, I don't know if this is the right person. So when I find the member, it has another listing that's in a pop-up, which is really brilliant. Thank you, Patrick. And that way it'll search after that, and it's limited in its search. So the grid from this page ends up being in a pop-up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can see some other things. I'm say, okay, well, were there other courses? Oh yeah, there was another course. I can see the membership card, or I can just go ahead and add them to my course. And then the pop-up closes and refreshes the listing. So that was a brilliant workaround with the pop-up, and we've used that in multiple locations, just because, yeah, the data was just too much. There's so much data.
Jim, do you have a question?
Yeah, so, well, now I have two questions after just seeing that little part. So that you were calling a pop-up, you called a pop-up form that then called another pop-up from within, or did it actually return and then just go off to a different action stack, or?
Nope, here, I'll show you. It's just easier to show. So it's this button, the new button at the bottom of a grid. And that opens a pop-up form. Find a member. And it does it in a pop-up, obviously.
Okay.
And then the find member, which is hidden somewhere here. In course history. I gotta find it. Find member.
And And thanks for walking us through this. Somebody coming back and wanting to do this same impact will be able to follow along.
Yeah. So the find member, then this is the cool part. So that's where it updates to the URL or to the address bar.
Mhm.
And it will, this took a little bit to try to figure out the right order, but we
Yeah.
actually refresh the listing first. Then you close the form, the member form, the little lookup form, and then you show the listing. So that took a little bit of doing to figure out what was the right combination. So basically refresh the listing first because it'll put it into the grid, the hidden grid. That one's not displayed. It's the settings are for it to not display initially. And then this one, then it closes the form and opens the next one. So we can look at that form. I think it's this one. Is that right?
So those
Yeah,
forms,
this one.
the forms and grid you're popping up are both on that, back on that, what I'll call that master page, where they're popping
Yes,
up, and then it's closing on the form on one page. And in the button action of the form saying, oh, there's another grid out here, go get that one and open it up.
Yes, in pop-up. So display
In
mode
pop-up.
is in pop-up.
So
Everything's on the page. There's nothing referring to an external page. All of it's on the same page.
I think that's a very nice low code solution.
Yeah.
And my initial question that was going to be, your back office users, do you route them in through the same front page and so they have to navigate to your back office, or do you somehow identify them and send them right to their back office functions?
Well, obviously they have to log in with the exact same form as everybody else when they're logging in. And then they usually just have their favorites bookmarked. But you can see that if they are logged in and they get lost, it's on the home page. That'll take them to the dashboard in the backside. But most of them just go to their bookmark in their browser.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I told them to do too, because they're like, we need to be able to do this and this and this, and a search that does this and a search that does that. I'm like, no, it's one page, one search. And if you have particular filters that you really, really like, you can save that in your bookmarks, and the filters are pre-saved in the URL. So that's another wonderful tool where I don't have to be going, because we had like, I don't know, 300 advanced finds from Dynamics that we were supposed to bring over, but each one of them had like one thing different. It's like, oh, find everybody who's a member last month. Oh, find everybody who's a member next month. Oh, find everybody who's a member, and it was like, wow, I'm not going to write a separate report for all of these. And so because the forms and the grids use the URL, it's amazing, because I just told them, hey, just bookmark it and then name it something. Yeah, find the filter that you like, bookmark it, name it how you want. And I'm writing one. So the maintenance of it is just one grid with one call to the, one SQL query that has, particular parameters and stuff. And so, and they can, they have their own personal searches that they like, and they can save it to their own browser as they like.
Mm-hmm. I know long ago when I was doing development as a consultant, I kind of took a different approach that required more work, right? I allowed them to enter their parameters into the form and then to save those. And so I kept them for them. And I like the answer of just saying, well, bookmark it. You do you, and it'll be fine. Yeah.
It saves me a lot of time, and I'm not so sure how likely it is that they'll even use that one particular thing again. But for some reason at that one point, it really sounded like it was really important. Well, you manage that on your browser, and not me manage it for the system.
And
so
there's no reason they couldn't share that if somebody needs the same report. Okay,
exactly.
Yeah, it is. I've already done it for you. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, happy to take this wherever you guys want to go. If somebody showed up today with something that they wanted to talk about and that isn't USPA, we'll be happy to entertain that. Love to have more questions for Jen. It's just we've got 10 minutes to do anything we want with.
And I've been talking a lot.
No, this is great. I told Jen before we started, I don't do a lot of preparation for this. I'm hoping that people bring things and bring questions, and just happy to let it go where it goes.
I just want to also say that Patrick has been so helpful with trying to get ideas when I get stuck. And he's like, I know a way to do this. And I, especially at first, I was like, how did you know that? How did you know that even off the top of your head to, so, I mean, that was just really helpful. Like you even, everybody just being here and listening to somebody else and, getting some of those ideas. And it's just a proactive way to try to help the users get better quality and stuff and not feel like it's so overwhelming. So I really recommend
to put a little reality check on that. I mean, there were plenty of times when I told you, well, I'm going to have to come back to you on this. There were those times too. And some of those times involved bouncing ideas off Dale or or off Radu or somebody else in the company. So
yeah, so we did the dedicated technical success manager package, and I highly recommend that. I mean, especially if you have something new that you're kind of trying to deploy. It was just I can't imagine trying to figure all this stuff out without the experts who have all these ideas and all that stuff. So, I can't imagine not having that. I would not be where I am for sure. Totally worth the money. Totally.
So of course, there's a lot of ways to get there, all the way from taking advantage of the community and live help, but that's more transactional instead of relational, right? So technical success manager ends up with a partner in the project versus I have my one little thing. Jim, come back at us one more time.
So during your talk and the presentation, you mentioned reports. Are you just generating those with HTML, or did you find one of the add-on tools an add-on tool to putting in to help you manage and design reports?
Yeah. So I just wanted to show Peppermint Stripey.
Okay. Do we need to tell her she needs to renew her
membership? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reports are awesome because it's mostly built in. I just would either create just a grid that would use the filtering. It's filterable field or it's a searchable field. And I would make sure that it was synced with the URL and also that it allowed filters, and then add one button that said export to Excel. And so all I really had to do was know my own data. And sometimes it was pretty easy, and sometimes it was pretty complicated because then I had to get into more complicated SQL. But for very simple reports, it takes me 5 minutes for something that's just reporting data on, let's say I want a contact name and then what ratings do they have or something like that. Or, just looking up addresses with a certain configuration. It's very, very easy. It doesn't take anything at all. So I'm not doing any kind of plugin. I'm just using the grid itself. Sometimes I use a form if I'm inputting dates, and then I'm using one button that says export to Excel.
So in your context, reports means they want data.
They want data.
It's not a printed, formatted crystal reports kind of PDF data. They want data.
They just want the data. And a lot of times what they want the data for is follow up with somebody who earned a rating and then didn't purchase the rating, something like that. So it's more exception reports probably than anything else. And we do have dashboards, and right now we're just using the internal dashboards, but I do want to eventually use like Chart.js or something to make the reports a little bit prettier. But that's not how really our staff really needs the reports. So they usually want a downloaded spreadsheet for something, or they just want it listed on the page so that they can go look those up individually and fix whatever's going on.
But you're also creating financial reports in the system, and because of the complexity of those, for a lot of those, you actually ended up doing SQL views or store procedures.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it did. And it was also views, mostly views.
Mhm.
My cat wants to be star now.
If you've attended any of our other meetings, you know that Bogdan's cat jumps in from time to time. So they do what they want to do. Welcome to the. I have no cats. Anyway. Good. So I see we have a few people that are not regulars to the meeting, and so we're glad that you came. If you had any, if you wanted to say hi or have any questions, we'd love to engage you, but I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. We're glad that you're here. We just hope that you got out of it what you wanted to today. And yeah, I'm going to say last call. What else do we want to talk about today? Otherwise, we will drop off into Afterglow segment. It is okay. Well, we will resume a normal schedule next week where we go through and talk about the things that have been shared with us on the Campfire website. We'll talk about any feature requests that you've put out, any ghost stories. Come back and we'll explain what those are, and dark corners as well. We try and keep a Campfire theme going. I'm not sure whether we stretch it too far. But in any case, we'll sign off with happy low coding. Thanks everyone for showing today. And if you have a minute, stick around for Afterglow. And if not, we'll see you next Wednesday or Friday. Thanks all.